Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Oh, the Drill Partner's perfect for you. Melina, Mike, we are back with Mosconi Cup Day 3 recap. Man, Day 3, more of the same. Misery for Team USA. It's almost insurmountable at this point, Melina. I think
almost.
I'm like the rest of the U.S. pool community right now, and I'm just depressed. I feel for Jeremy. I feel for the players because, they can play better than this. They wanted to play better than this, and they just haven't shown up, and it's really sad, and so, man, it hurts. It hurts.
Well, it's a little too. It ain't technically too little, too late because it's sports. But if you have any kind of hope, there's not very much left of it when it comes to the American spirit right now. So I don't know. We'll see. It wasn't. You predicted what a three. What was it?
I thought they'd sweep today. I really did.
2-1, 3-0.
3-0. I thought they'd sweep today. I really did. And if you look at that first match, it's like there's been so many of those matches in this Mosconi Cup where the U.S. gets off to a slow start, scratches on a break, or misses a ball, or misses an opportunity, and all of a sudden they're down 2 or 3-0, and that's what happened with Sky today. And in that singles match with Jason, they lose the first match with the Scotch doubles, and Sky had a big miscue, I think, in that match, and it's just like uncharacteristic things. Like, it was just weird stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if it's weird. It seems pretty par for the course. That's a consistent theme. It's been that way since like the very first game. Look at Shane running out and then hits that 9 ball. Look at the miss on the 7 ball. It's been a reoccurring throughout this Mosconi Cup and continued today. And that 7 ball, whatever it was for Sky, or the 5 ball on the side, whatever it may have been. You didn't expect them to miscue, obviously, and they were out. But you always felt in these racks that with the Europeans, you're just like, they're out. With the Americans, you're like, okay, just don't dog it, just don't mess up, don't get out of line, don't overrun position, don't just get there, you know. And
you're hanging on every ball with the Americans, right? And even shots that appear somewhat routine, you're concerned. Whereas when Europe's at the table, if it's routine, it's like, okay, well, maybe we can get the next game, because they're getting out. It just feels that way.
They're on the floor, and you're like, just ring it up.
Yeah, and it was really interesting listening to that interview with Barry Hearn afterward today. And
I didn't get to hear a whole lot of it.
I did. I caught some of it, and he had a really interesting observation about safety play, and basically just saying, like, he thinks that's a big key to the match. We said it after yesterday when Federer had those 2 safes early on, I think against who was that against? I can't remember now. Anyway, he had the 2 safe opportunities and didn't convert them. Josh, yeah. And it just set the stage for that match. And Barry was saying how, with the European players constantly competing and, the World 9-Ball Tour and, being out there under all the pressure, their safety play just seems that much better than Team USA. And I have to agree with that.
Well, if you're going to use Federer as an example, I feel like there's an easy out. And for the others, I don't think it's such an easier out with them as well on the Americans. You can make excuses that I feel like are somewhat valid when it comes to Federer. But, I never understood why there was all this, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like all this faith in his ability to execute out there when he had never executed out there before.
You say this before every Matchroom event with Federer, and I kind of roll my eyes, but you've been right. I got to give you credit because
because he's progressed, upward. I was there at
Hanoi,
the
obviously.
Open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Hanoi U.S. Open, so he had been going the right way, but when you go the right way and then you make a switch, then it's like you're almost hitting the reset button,
Yeah.
we had Johan Rosnick earlier, on there, who, I mean, he's partly responsible for Federer's success and having trained and coached him before he became the Federer that we all know and love. And I think it was maybe what was it, a year ago or so, where Federer went and got tuned up by him. So um, but again, he also said that the equipment change is a real deal. And then you add in those other factors that I don't think a whole lot of people gave a lot of weight to, but they're it's consistent with Pool. It's the Mosconi Cup, it's that stage, it's the crowd, it's all these things. It's the slide, and they do their best to try to recreate it. And we saw the Americans do things to, try to mimic those conditions right out there whenever we were in Dallas. But
They had the pledge and shining up the cue ball. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why you're putting all their business out there like that, but I just meant I was speaking more in
It was on
general
one
to
of our
them.
videos. I don't know if you saw it when we were interviewing Sky or something. Jeremy's behind him with the thing as pledge.
Yeah. But
It was
it's look, you haven't done it until you do it, and you can have all the hopes and expectations you want, but there's guys who talk about it, and then there's guys who go out there and deliver when it's time. And for last year, when we talked about Jason maybe not being deserving of being on that team, to delivering the way he did, to this year him snapping off a major and then coming out and having up to this point an MVP type performance alongside with
playing
Josh,
great. Yeah, he's
and
playing great.
so, but you get reputation and by delivering out there. You don't get it because of what you do, January through March. That doesn't get you anywhere around here. It's
Yeah.
good to put you in position. You're rounding third in a good spot, but December's different, Joe. December's different.
Can-
That stage is different.
So can we agree on this? I was kind of thinking about this today when I'm, comparing mentally what I've seen from the two teams, that I feel like FSR surprisingly has been the weak link for Europe. He's struggled more than anyone,
Right.
but it feels like he's playing still better than everyone on Team USA.
I mean, I don't know if I would go with that second half of it.
Why not?
Um,
Who's playing better from USA? Pick a name.
I mean, I would go with Shane. Well, we haven't seen Shane in a couple of days, but I would go with Shane. Maybe
Based
I don't
on
know.
what?
I don't. I mean, if balls 1 through 7, I'll go with Shane. If you don't got to shoot any case balls, then I love Shane.
Oh
But
man.
no,
No,
I
but I'm
guess
just
I
saying
guess you're right to
nobody
some
from
extent.
USA has really stepped up and played even to their ability, nevertheless, like above their ability, which we've seen in years when US has had success in this event, that they've had players that have actually played over their head and nobody's even playing up to their standard. And again, it's sad. I feel for them. We know these guys. We were there with them when they were prepping.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things where you have the moment, you have the opportunity to seize the moment, and you're just not firing. It happened to my daughter recently in her state gymnastics meet. She wanted more than anything to do well. And that particular day, she had the worst meet of the season, and it's just such a heartbreaking feeling. And I know these guys are sitting there just crushed right now. Obviously they want to end up in a better place than 11-2, but to think that they can come back and even make a game of it at this point, we haven't seen any evidence of that.
It's embarrassing at this point. I don't, and I love the lightheartedness. I love the laughing and smiling that you see within there, because what else are you gonna do? You can't just sit there and be SVB, right? Just be miserable out there. But it doesn't feel like it's balanced. On that, it just feels like a little, like, come on, get your ass in gear.
Yeah.
Like you won that game, you won that doubles, congratulations. But look at the scoreboard real quick, before you start doing stuff like that.
I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with it. In fact, One of the things that I really found interesting this year is Europe's still doing the Europe thing. Jason's
Oh
still
yeah,
doing on every shot, lifting his
right.
hands,
Yeah,
and all that. But there's also that respect across the table to the other team where it's almost like Europe gets it. They know the US is not performing on the stage right now. And you see Jason kind of reach out to Sky, and they shake hands. I think Sky maybe made a golden break or something. But you know what I mean? It's like it's almost like they get it because they're pool players. And as pool players, you have those moments where you just want to play so well and you don't. And so, I kind of feel like um, it's a different Europe team in terms of how they're treating the U.S. out there. But maybe that all changes if U.S. can win a few tomorrow and put a little bit of heat into the situation. I haven't seen it, so I can't even predict. I can't even be hopeful, Mike. Like my son says to me today, he's like, "Dad, what's the score right now?" I said, "It's 9-2." And he said, if they come back tomorrow, this would be like the biggest comeback in sports. And I'm like, I don't think so, son. I don't think it's happening, you know? So broke his heart.
yeah.
But
Well, I mean, look, you went out there. You're still trying to some extent, and trying to make it a show, and I think that's all you can do at this point. Yeah, I just there's nothing for me. There's not a whole lot of positives you can take away. I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. The funniest part for me of the day, and I don't anyone other than you, Joe, you'll be the only one to get this, but I was watching the Wolford and Sky match, and Wolford goes, "You want a negative angle or a positive angle?" And, and I don't know if you remember that moment when we were at Fort Worth Billiards and they're playing the Scotch doubles, and they just start laughing because of Tyler. You might have been too engaged in your scorekeeping
timekeeping.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was. Looks they everyone talked about, well, Sky this and Sky that, and you're right, Sky's always been Mr. December, and we sent him out there today, but he was just in a hole that was too tough to fade, and you have guys on the other side, and Jason and even Fran's B game that were just are too much for us to handle being in that position that we're in, and so they've already hit us at the knees, and now they're just gonna wait to take out our heads tomorrow, because I think they're going to go out guns blazing first thing. I think tomorrow is going to be very, very heavy with, at least early on, to end it.
Josh.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a Josh. I think you can expect to see a Shane out there for Team USA. Send out your guns, but there's nothing on. I don't see anybody slowing down that kid from Germany right now.
He's
I
playing
just,
great.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't.
That
Um,
was a bummer about today is that we didn't get to see him play. He's
Well, not a bummer if you're a fan of Team USA, because it gave you something to, hold on to a little bit. But and Fran, Fran let them in the same situation like with Federer. I think is what we're seeing with Fran. Although Fran had been, for the last few months, Francisco had been like kind of trending of, you know, teetering that line of still being the Fran that we've known over the last 2 years, versus kind of regressing a little bit in his performance. Um, the technique seems to be a bit of an issue. The body movement seems to be a bit of an issue. Then the nerves coming back, or being back on this stage but never having played in Ali Pali before, the equipment change. I think all those things are honest, and but even
and
then,
he had health issues too. A couple stints in the hospital. So
oh
I
yeah,
mean, that gets you out of your rhythm. You're used to competing. He had to skip an event, I think Puerto Rico maybe, and getting out of your rhythm of attending events regularly. Or did he skip the international? I can't remember. Was it one of those events?
yeah, the international he skipped. Yeah,
Yeah. And so, you're into that rhythm. You're traveling with David. You're going to these events, and then all of a sudden you're not. And that can throw a monkey wrench into it, but he's going to be fine. He's going to get out of this, and he'll be the Fran that we know. Maybe not the Fran from the last year and a half, 2 years, but I think he'll be fine.
there's a realistic possibility you may end up with a victory without Wolford, and I think David having played a singles. Could be wrong. But there's a chance of that, and I don't know how much that needs to be addressed as far as the format goes, because it's a team event, right? So there it needs to be more balanced, as far as who all gets sent out there. Um, just my 2 cents, and we'll see tomorrow with the lineups. But that would be my guess. That's at least an option, a
You know,
possibility.
one thing I was pondering on today, Mike, with the way that Europe looks so relaxed out there, even from day one, right from the start, is how lucky they got this year that they were able to assemble the same team, right? Because you have the points, and so they could have had other players get into the mix and qualify. But the way it worked out, the way the qualifiers worked out, they have the exact same team from last year. And so this group of five played together in Vegas. It was a tight match. They win it. You know, they had to come with it on the last day. And now they're back again, same exact team. Whereas if you would have had someone else slip into there, you know, another fine player, because they're all great players in Europe, it could have just changed the dynamic enough where they might not have been as comfortable.
Well, yeah, I think that's where Ralph just got away with murder. I mean, just he could have been. He was on the hottest of seats going into it, not because of anything he had done, but just the way that automatics were looking to get in. If Alexa beats Federer in that semifinal at the U.S. Open, he's in an automatic spot. You know, then Albin would never get selected. You would think, because Jason was just a foregone conclusion. Um, and so uh, the Europe the rookie factor for sure would have been in play,
Yeah.
and there
You
would have
had
been some.
Bosch, who had the good Spanish Open, right? If he had another big event where he gets to the semis, he probably gets there on points.
Yeah, but there was like two or three guys who were honestly like just rookies who could have just made it in, off of their own merit. And I think the semifinal from Albin really made it a lot easier for Ralph. But it's like it's easier because he's a veteran and he's proven. And but up until that point, he really hadn't done a whole lot throughout the year. And even Albin admitted whenever we had him on the show before, but it did work out that way. And on the other side, everyone was coming in a little big chested saying, well, hey, these Americans are upgraded as well. So it is going to be more balanced and they're going to put up more of a fight than an 11-7. And I think last year's performance is what led to everyone kind of being more hopeful towards it. Now, nobody expected this, but before it started, I thought it would be heavy on Europe. I thought it would be, I think I called 11-5 to start the event, and it wasn't because of lack of ability or what they can do. It's just what history has told me is more likely to happen, and as great as some players are, it's just different out there. And those guys came out loose and free from the first match, Rochambeau for a shot, laughing it up, building, and this is with, to be honest, this is with the European crowd that I think has let the Americans off the hook because they kind of feel bad for how terrible it's gotten. Because had it been more competitive, I think they would have really gotten in their asses over and over and over again and been in their head. Where
Yeah.
I think because of the lopsided score lines, I mean, you had 5 zeros. It was like you just never saw them really needle the way that we've seen them, like, greatly needle in the past. So,
Well,
um,
I guess my point is a lot has to go right to get the exact same team with the format now and the way the points work. And if you're Europe, if I'm that group of five and Ralph Eckert, I want that same group of five next year. I mean, I really do. I want them for as long as they can do it. You
well,
know,
you may not have that may be out of your control.
well, that's I know, but
And
I'm saying like
number one, Josh may not be on the radar, so there goes your potential MVP,
it's
right?
true.
You got to figure Jason's going to be there till it's time for him to be a captain. I don't see Jason, like 2 years ago, I would have said, he's on the tail end. He's in the twilight of his Mosconi career. Now, I think he's got more momentum and revving up that engine just even more right now, Joe. So
Mhm.
I don't see anything slowing him down. And just from look, it's a TV show at the end of the day, right? And just from that standpoint, the guy is just box office and entertaining.
He really is.
Whether you
He
love it
really
or
is.
whether you love it or you hate it, right? You're always talking about the guy,
I'm
and
just
he
dying for
delivers.
that time where he stops shots on the 8 and he's straight in on the 9 and he does all this and then he misses the 9. I just can't wait for that day. Just one time, I want that, stop the cue ball. You're in perfect shape. You're turning to the crowd, and then brick it right into the rail. Come on, Jason. One time.
Well,
I know
he's
you're
done it
listening.
before. He's dogged the ball before too in his time, but he
But
just
not like that. Not after you do the whole shenanigans and all that stuff.
but he'll like even if you don't believe it, he fakes it afterward. Like he wears it to where he thinks like it doesn't matter to him, right? Like
Yeah.
when you see him, you don't see him have nerves after a miss or a dogged ball. I mean, he did. I think he missed like a 2 or 3 ball to start this event on. In I don't know if it was the singles or the doubles, but you don't remember that because all you remember is just the overwhelming performance that he's had since that miss, right?
Yeah, he's been playing well. No doubt.
Where like the Americans, it's like, I mean, he should make this, right? I mean, he's supposed to make this, but you don't feel it in your soul, man, that that ball is gonna get down, and then when it gets down, you're like, yes, right? But
The only hope for the U.S. tomorrow is if they're making the lineups and Josh and Jason get pissed off because knowing that one of them could win the MVP, they get in some kind of argument or fight, one punches the other, one of them's disqualified for tomorrow, and then U.S. plays 5 against 4.
just call
Still might not do it.
Call Raito and them. You know what I mean? Just
Oh man, it's just been so brutal, Mike. I wanted it each of these days. I want the US to kind of do what they can do and get back into it. And they're just not performing. I don't know if you've talked to Jeremy or heard from Jeremy. But he's gotta be.
I think Mike had him on after day one, and we've been trying. Like I know we've been a little heavier when it comes to European interviews, but I've always had a philosophy in that, I don't like to ask guys to talk on camera when they're lost or they're losing. That's just always been my deal. I did it one time, and it was a good friend of mine, Chris Reinhold. Ironically enough, he lost some tournament, and he's walking out, and I said, "Hey, Chris, come by for a second. Let's chat." And Chris is a funny guy, sarcastic. He doesn't really take things too seriously. And he was like, he just looked at me and said, "I just lost." And I'm like, "All right, bro, we'll see you later."
It's like Joe Rogan when Joe Rogan gets down after Conor McGregor breaks his leg and he's got a microphone right in his face.
Yeah, but it's I try to respect it now. The media team at Matchroom, they have helped out coordinate, and they have offered up or said some Americans a bit on the table. It just doesn't work out because they got other media obligations while they're there, and we're not there. So it'd be a whole lot different if we were in the building and can just pull these guys off. And kudos to shout out to their team because they always accommodate above and beyond for us.
At the end of the day, Jeremy has to be like very disappointed with the way the team is playing, right? Maybe he can second guess some of his decisions, and maybe he will in the coming weeks and months after this. But ultimately, the players got to play. They got to pocket balls, So I would think that he has to come out and say that. And I think he may have in that interview with Mike. I'm not sure. But I'd be curious to talk to him maybe after this is all said and done and find out what his thoughts are.
Jeremy's always been willing to come on. He's on the hottest of seats right now. And I respect Jeremy and I like him personally. So seeing this performance and everyone kind of shitting on him is a little tough for me.
And we were there, and even Johan talking about the discipline that's needed to prepare. We were there, and he was making them guys work. And, I didn't see anything more that could be done from a preparation standpoint once we got to Fort Worth and kind of saw those guys working out. One thing
kind of stood with me when we talked to Johan earlier, and that was that he said that I spent a week with each guy individually.
Yeah, that was
to really tighten up their delivery. And I was like, well, damn, that's 5 weeks by itself.
Yeah,
that's a long time. And that's not even including the get together of everyone like this. So, and I love that philosophy. It's like if, everyone's got to be on the same page, because if you're 90, what do you say? If you're 97%, good luck, because you don't have much of a chance, because those guys are
Yeah.
going to be 100% out there. And I think he's right to some extent. Him saying I'd be willing to throw my name into consideration was a little, it's a little interesting, and
Yeah, but not long before that, I believe he said that he's going to do it his way and he's not going to care what Matchroom
well,
says. So,
I think that's part of that. I don't want to say fallout with Johan, but to an extent, that fallout with Johan, is because, and for that same matter, you could say the same thing about Laley. We talked to Laley after they had just won the Mosconi Cup. I go, the confetti's coming down from there, and Laley sitting on the couch, just kind of taking it all in, and I turned on the phone and I'm asking him, and he's just like, "Yeah, I think this is it. You know, I think this is it for me." And but part of it was like the control part, wanting to do it their way, and to some extent, Matchroom's always going to have their paws on it, because it's their show, and that's their baby more than anything.
yeah.
Is that Mosconi Cup, and so. Ironically enough, when I announced Johan, coming on this morning, Alex reached out, so we're going to try to get him on tomorrow. He's doing commentary for a snooker event, but I'm just going to try to play it by ear and see if we can get him on. I'd love to get his thoughts on, and I tell you, like, I'll be real honest with you, because some of the messages that we were going back and forth, he had some opinions on things that were real surprising to me on the Europe, on like his take on some European behavior. So, um,
Hmm.
we will
Yeah,
see
I'd
if
love
we
to talk
can.
to him.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see if
one
we
thing I
can.
miss about this Mosconi. Being there last year and talking with Alex, getting to know him and kind of how things
Well,
tick up here. It was really
I'll tell
cool.
y'all. I'll tell y'all the funniest story. So it was after, I think, I don't know if it was day one or day two. We're all about to go out to dinner, right? It was me, you, Oscar, Tom Gorman, um,
Tyler,
Tyler, and
my,
so we're
yeah.
we're down we're down in the. We hadn't even left the casino yet, and so we're there, and there's Team Europe and Laley, and Laley walks up, and he, and, and I'm looking over, and he's like, "Can I have a word?" And I'm like, "Fuck!" And then in that moment, I just start replaying in my head, like, okay,
What did I say?
what all have I been saying about this guy over the last like day and a half, And I forgot what he told me about, but it was something about, a little bit of controversy that was going on. I think it was similar to what we're going through right now, where like they stopped the matches a day, like prematurely,
No, no,
right? So
no,
that
no. It was
maybe they had
something with
5 and 3,
Tyler.
and they wanted to do a lineup change, because now it had, now they had cut it short. Something happened. I can't remember what it was, but he was like, he wanted his side of the story to be on the record. But for a second there, I'm thinking he was going to chew my ass out about something that I had said. And that's not, that's very much in the realm of possibilities, because I can put my foot in my mouth at times, So, um, but look, they've always been great. I can't wait to go back next year, and despite this lopsided score line, I love the Mosconi Cup, man. I
Oh
look
yeah,
forward to it. I look forward to it every year. And I'm going to look at it from a standpoint of, okay, they can only go up, right? They can only go up, and I think that there's going to be some major overhaul changes. Federer will have another year under his belt as well. um, I don't know if we're going to get the same five guys out there, but I think you're going to get five guys who are going to realize that whatever we did up until this point just wasn't enough, And when you have leaders out there like a Tyler, who's a no bullshit kind of kid, and he'll be vocal, I feel like, to, in that camp of, okay, we need to step up our game here, you know, because he's a workhorse, and we saw it out there, Joe, and
yeah.
so um, it really, it's crazy because it's 9 ball, and you think about, well, it really could have just shifted the other way early on, and it didn't, but you never expected it to get this bad, right? Like, you lose the teams. All right, let's go. Come on, let's go, boys. Go out there and get something. And then it's like, this isn't getting any better,
Yeah.
And then it never did. They never got the train on the tracks, and a lot of it is, because of that elite performance that you're seeing from, these Europeans. So, I don't know what the solution is. I don't think anybody knows,
I,
what the solution is. You mentioned yesterday about pressing and being more aggressive, and I don't know.
well, one thing that I'm wondering, I want to get your thoughts on with such a lopsided score line. Let's say Europe comes out and wins 2 out of the first 3 tomorrow, and you have like some 11-2, 11-3, 11-4 victory. Uh, what do you think that might do for Matchroom and the timetable of having something like the Reyes Cup?
Oh, it's like, as soon as I get back to the office on Monday, we're figuring out that deal if it's not already figured out.
You think so?
That, yeah, that's it's got to be a premium. It's got to be a premium because what they've created is scoreboard watching all year, right? We talk Mosconi Cup all year. We talk about it from the International Open past the Mosconi Cup. We're going to be talking about it at Derby. We talked about it when Fran won. We talked about it when Federer won. We talk about it from all year long, and you lose that when that sex appeal is gone, right? And the other side of it is you can't have a bunch of guys who are just stealing. You can't, because then it's like, okay, the scoreboard watching is great to who makes the team, but who gives a shit if they're going to go out there and just get thrown to the wolves anyway? And I don't
Yeah.
think anybody would. I don't want to get too much into opinions on how I think that the Asian team would perform, but a lot of people would think it's going to be a lot more competitive than what it is now, myself included. So, and I would love to see those Europeans play with heat, because when there's heat, and those Filipinos and those Taiwanese and a few other Asian players, they can put some heat on your ass, and I
Yeah.
guarantee you those guys, look, Fran, David, Jason, those antics stop whenever you start seeing some heat. And on top of that, if you think those Europeans or something, man, give me a crowd full of Vietnamese, give me a crowd full of Filipino fans, because they'll show up, they'll show out. They got love, they got passion, they got flavor to them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're gonna go out there and give them that 12th man kind of feel. Um, and I think it's just going to be that much more vital, because and really, it just kind of brings the whole tour home, because now you have all these events going on in Asia. Well, I mean, it's cool, it's great, but I'm not scoreboard watching like I am with
Yeah.
when the other
And
Europeans are involved.
and the WPA issue, the Asian Federation's very strong, and so like there needs to be incentive other than just playing in matchroom events, and
Big
the
time pool.
World Nine Ball Tour events, right? Just the prize money from those, but the chance to make a team for Team Asia, would be a huge thing. It'd be a huge factor in
Look,
drawing players over to the matchroom side that typically we saw it when they had the tournament in Qatar. At the same time, they have a tournament in Vietnam and the best Vietnamese player isn't there. He's in Qatar. So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's also, and I don't mean this to disrespecting anybody, but the Asian players play with a different sense of pride for their country. Like, you see it with when they celebrate in their post and their, they give, especially the Filipinos, man. The Filipinos, more than I feel like any country, just every time any player does something, they show love to their country in their Facebook, if in the way they speak, and they wear that flag proudly on their chest and on their arms, and getting the chance to represent them, especially in what would be the inaugural, Reyes Cup, and look, it's named after a legend, right? So they're gonna know, how symbolic that is, and how, they're gonna be a part of history. And I can't wait to see it. I don't have any information. I don't have any details. I haven't really pushed to find out. I know after Hanoi that there was some, talks going on. That much I do know. but I haven't followed up because of I mean, it's been Mosconi season, so that's kind of
You're
been
dogging it, just like
on
the
the
show.
radar.
You're dogging it.
But yeah, I mean,
Hey,
I think they could be more competitive though, for sure.
so back to this year's Mosconi Cup. So tomorrow, if some miracle happens and Europe just can't close it out, I mean, we could be potentially looking at 8, 9 matches tomorrow. I mean,
Well, let's see.
is that unprecedented? I don't think that's ever happened. And how
Well, I
long
mean,
would
I
that
think
take? And you know what I mean? Because if US is on 2 and they need to get to 11, that's 9 potential matches that could occur, right?
so. Let's see. U.S. if they get to 8, that's 10. And then 1 for the Europeans, that's 10. So 9. You can have a total of 10 matches, possibly. I think it'll be over in 3. So, but it can be 10.
I mean,
I
like, would they carry on to a 5th day?
no, I
Because
don't think.
remember, they're evening out there now. They're starting what at 6:30 in the evening. They'd be
Well,
playing until 4 o'clock in the morning.
no, let me see. Let me get this thing out. When are they scheduled to start? This is probably something we should have done before we go live here. Maybe somebody in the chat can let me know.
They've
Bring
been
up.
starting at 6:30 local time, I think.
No, that I'm aware of, but I mean, like, what is tomorrow scheduled to start any earlier? Is
Oh, that's a good question.
4 tomorrow is what they're saying.
Oh, 4.
That's what Tony says in the chat. So let me see
And
if I can.
Sunday.
No. There's no Sunday. There's no Sunday.
Well, maybe there is now. Maybe Tony knows something we don't know. Let me check.
No, there's nothing. I'm gonna bring it up right now, but let me see here. I was just looking at this not too long ago either. Let's see. Albums, no matchroom pool photos. Well, let's see here. I'm scrolling through the Matchroom Facebook page, and I'm going under the photos to see if I can find out. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. This shit's taking too goddamn long. Yeah, we'll just. My computer's been a little gaffy right now too.
Gaffy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if they don't start any earlier. Let me see if I can bring up my phone. Say something, Joe. We're on a live show, buddy.
Oh, this is a live show? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just thinking it could be a marathon day tomorrow if the US does start clawing their way back into this thing. I mean, even if they just pick up 3 or 4 wins before Europe closes it out, I mean, you're still talking about a lot longer day than we've had through the rest of the event. And it would be interesting if US can take like 4 or 5 matches early on, then fatigue starts setting in. Anything can happen. Just saying.
Let's see here. Well, it doesn't even say the time. So yeah, but yeah. I don't know. I'll have to see it. But I'm in the camp of like Arthur is. It's 1:30 Eastern according to Dazen, 10:30 Pacific. Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out in the morning whenever I'll text the Matchroom guys and see what they say. But yeah, I don't. I think they're coming out. They're coming out.
So your prediction is they're going to close it out within 3 matches?
Yeah, so Europe's at 9, right? They only got to win 2. I'm thinking the Americans can win 1 out of 3. And
I mean, track record from this week shows that that's probably accurate.
I would be shocked if it goes the other way. And the interesting thing is, I don't think we've gotten a Federer versus Jason matchup, have we?
I don't think so.
I don't think we've gotten that. I don't think we've gotten Wolford playing a singles. I don't think we've gotten David. Maybe David's played a singles already. But
I think David did play a singles.
I think David did play
on
singles
day 1.
too.
Yeah. Maybe against Tyler. Didn't he play Tyler? Or no?
No, I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, look. So if you're giving the over under on US wins in this thing, you're putting the line at 3.
Oh yeah. I
All right, I'll take the over. Dinner bet. I'll take the over.
I'm not betting dinner. They can play 18 matches tomorrow. I'm not gonna. I'm not. I'm not gonna lay that
Come
line.
on, Whataburger. It won't cost you too much.
That's just my opinion on what I think will happen. Look, I hope I'm wrong, man. I am. You know, I really do hope I'm wrong. But nothing leads me to be like nothing up here tells me that it can be extended. You know,
yeah, I'm with you.
Nothing at all. And
I've seen this comment a couple times in here, Mike, where people are saying, get Walford out there, let him play a bunch of matches, get more experience for next year. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. But the fact that Shane hasn't played really much at all.
I don't think that look.
Shane Van Boning, I think you got to get Shane Van Boning in there.
I wouldn't do that for Wolford because look, Shane's had some great spots on here. He hasn't had some your spot is secured kind of moments in this Mosconi Cup. You know, there's a big difference. Like, yeah, there's things you can be optimistic about, but, you know, don't throw away the key just yet because, you know, for me, you still got a lot more to prove and you got to earn your way. You got to earn your opportunities in order to be able to get there. And so,
well, and look, you see this comment in here that he's playing well for a rookie, you know, with all this pressure. I get it, but even him playing well is not what we need to win, right? Like you saw the miss he had on the ball today in the corner. Like it just needs to be better, you know, for us to win. So we can't have like these moral victories like, hey, we have young guys that are playing pretty good. You know, they need to play. And I'm sure if you ask Shane Wolford, he would say that, you know what, I needed to make that ball. I missed that ball. And so that's kind of where we are in the U.S. right now. You know, we got to step up our standard. We got to play better.
Yeah. I mean, right now we need victories early and often, and you got to keep them off the hill, you know, and you got to show some fight. You got to show some heart. And all those guys do got heart. You know, I think they're outgunned, but they definitely got heart. You know, I've seen them from almost all of them. And but it's a tall task, Joe. It's a real tall task.
Well, I'll be tuned in. I know you'll be tuned in. All you guys tuning in to us, make sure you catch it tomorrow. We'll be back on live, talk some more about it.
Yeah, and let me know. Let me know in the chat what you guys think the overall score will be.
I got people ready to take my side of the action. They like the over.
What's that?
They like over US getting a 3.
You think they get what?
Yeah, I do. I think they get over 3.
They've gotten what have they gotten? They gotten 2 games in 2 days.
Yeah.
You know? So I think
3 it's
okay,
look,
I'll tell you this.
Mike.
If it's been 3 days?
Yeah.
Even worse then. Okay, so if I said tomorrow the American line would be 1.5, what would you take?
The over.
You take the over?
Obviously. Yeah, if I'm going to say they're going to be over 3, then I'd say they're going to be over 1.5 because it means they have to win 2. That was the weirdest question ever.
I don't know, man.
I'm taking the over. And, you know, it's funny. You see fans in their comments in here. You got people who are, you could tell, U.S. supporters, Europe supporters. The Europe supporters are like, it should be 11-0. Well, you know what? There were a lot of rolls in there that it could have actually been the other way. Or players just making shots.
They also broke the ball better. I hate this whole rolls line that I'm seeing all over the internet. I get it, but you know, you got to will your way to get these kind of rolls too. You know, they're breaking the balls really good. I mean, that's a lot better than us.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And I remember when Federer breaks the balls, it might have been one of his first breaks in a match today where he breaks it, but the cue ball goes down table, toward a corner pocket, comes off the rail, hits the ball, and then over into the opposite side pocket. And they even said on the broadcast, wow, that was really unfortunate. But that's not a good break, right? When you're breaking those balls, you need that cue ball back and forth across the middle, right? If it's going way down by that corner pocket, that's a mishit, right? It's not executed properly. And so a few of the scratches that the U.S. have had were unfortunate kicks and kisses and things like that, but they're not controlling the ball the same way that Europe's controlling it when it hits the head ball and slides straight back and forth across the table.
Yeah, I mean,
They
if
need
you watch
it
a lot
looks
of
like
these,
they haven't worked on it as much as Europe.
shocking, you don't say.
It looks that way. It appears that way.
I didn't see them. I don't remember them working a whole lot. I mean, I know they were breaking the balls, but it wasn't
Well,
like
they were breaking pretty good.
an overemphasis on breaking the balls whenever we were out there.
That's one comment that I don't think I got out when we were out there that I wanted to share and I forgot about, is that it looked like US was breaking the balls really well out there when they were playing their scotch matches and when they were doing their practicing, and I don't know if I ever said that to you or not, but I was feeling it. I was like, hey, I like the way they're breaking the balls going into this thing. And maybe it's, you never know, under the heat, under the pressure,
Yeah.
a little bit extra, a little bit less concentration, whatever it is, they're not breaking the balls as well as Europe, and that's a big factor.
One thing I'll say is this. So Shane has got a few different breaks up his sleeve. One of them being, I can just say F it and just muscle
Pound it.
Like, yeah, you know what I mean? And just power that break.
Yep.
Sky's got that finesse break when he has it dialed in. He can be an elite breaker. Federer can be an elite out of anybody in the world type of breaker. We saw that at the US Open. He was keeping that cue ball like in that upper third spot, like area of the table along with the two ball and getting the shot and just getting out, which we haven't really seen that in this tournament per se. But I'll say one thing. Look, for your, and I know this goes completely against your handicap Fargo rate, excuse. One thing that
you misquoted me.
One thing that I'll say, I think legitimately plays a role in hurting the American players is the fact that when they do play these types of events here in the U.S., most of the time they're playing rack your own. And a lot of times you'll see this number here. They're racking the balls. They're messing with the one. I saw it in Sacramento. I saw it in watching other tournaments here in the U.S. where the players are manipulating the balls, and you know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. They're gapping to favor their chances of being able to make and control it. Where I think other proper, maybe European tournaments don't necessarily allow you to do that.
Yeah.
So, and that I think is a realistic thing. That's because I've seen these guys do it. And they're not afforded that opportunity when they're out there playing in an event like this. So, anyhow. Yeah. Let me ask you one quick question, then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
So let's say they get to 4, 5, even 11-5. You bringing back the same team next year?
Okay, so a bunch of different factors. One, it'll be in the U.S. I think we saw the crowd, and even Francisco talked about it today, that it was almost like the crowd had more energy last year in Vegas than it does this year over in the UK. And so that automatically is going to give Team USA a lift. We know that, okay? When you look at the makeup of the team, there's other players in the U.S. that could be on this team. If you look at the way, I know it was 10 ball, it was different. If you look at the way Oscar played that last set against Chris Reinhold, Oscar Dominguez could be on this team. Obviously,
Testing, check, 1, 2.
What did you say?
Replacing who?
Well, you didn't ask me about all that, but I'm just saying.
I'm asking you about it, though. I'm asking you about it.
Everybody said they wanted to see Justin Bergman back playing.
I'll tell you another story. I reached out to Justin this evening. I'm going to try to get him on the show. Last year I reached out to him. He said, "Give me 2 weeks." I said, "Okay." Then I completely slept it. 2 months later is whenever I remembered. But I'm reaching out to Justin again, and I'm going to see if we can get him again. I remember at the end of last year, I had heard that he was going to be making a comeback. It was, I heard from very credible source that he was going to be making a comeback, and then he never did. So I'm going to see if we can get him on the show and talk with him at least, So, but anyway, who would you? So you're saying maybe if
all right,
Justin
I'm going to say it. I'll just come out and say it. You asked me who I would replace on the team. God, It's just so hard to say.
You're gonna say Shane?
Yeah.
Are you gonna say Shane?
Yeah. And you
Wow.
know,
Wow.
the best
That
American
might have been the hottest take I've ever heard Joey
the
Ryan
best
say.
American
I'm glad we stayed
player
on for
in
this.
the best American player in a singles format, no doubt. Probably the best American player ever.
He said he wanted to play till 20 years, and now you're gonna retire him? If you match him, you're gonna say, "Hey, it's
the
time
team
to retire
environment,
off
it just
the singles
doesn't
circuit
work.
now."
It
Is that what
doesn't
you're gonna
work.
say? You're off. You're off the team.
It doesn't work. It's not working.
Hold on, my
It's not
computer's
working.
waking up again.
It's not working. It's a tough thing to say, and you know, Shane, if he hears this, he'll probably hate me. But who said it today? Johan said it today, right? He's that one that everybody on the team looks to. So he's got to try to execute himself. Then he's got to try to coach everybody else who, in the Scotch match. What do you think, Shane? What do you think, Shane? He's constantly got to be engaged in that banter and, what's going on here, what's going on there. He doesn't like it, right? He's a singles player, and he's a great singles player, probably the best ever. Okay, but in this team format, if you look at the way Europe kind of gets on as a team, the way they work together, the teamwork, the camaraderie, going to the Russian bathhouse, whatever they're doing, we don't have that with Team USA. And so we need to shake something up. So I guess I'm going to just say it. That's it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. It
was a great show while it lasted.
Oh man, I can't believe we went 52 minutes and then you just dropped the bomb. I don't know, Joe. Who's gonna be that guy? All I ask is that if it does happen, just let Joey Ryan be the one to deliver that message to
Joey. Oh yeah.
Because I don't see any way that happens. Anyway. Yeah. He moves the needle too much. He moves the needle too much. Whether you and I don't think you're not saying anything wrong. You're not. Any of your arguments aren't incorrect. Not being the best team leader. At this point, the way that he shrugs his shoulders, the way you kind of have to try to get him engaged, it's a bit of an Earl type issue. It is what it is at this point. But
at some point, when it comes to W's and L's, and you take a look at the records, at some point, and at some point,
he's always
Shane
had
might
to
want
face
to tap
the
out.
Josh. He's always had to face the Joshes, the Jasons. He's always had to face the toughest of players every time.
Yeah, but if you look at his record in other events against all those toughest players, I'm sure it's better than in the Mosconi Cup. I'm sure of it, 100%.
Damn, Joe, I can't believe you said so. Shane's going to be off the team next year, huh? If I put out that post in the morning, in case you missed last night's show, Joey said Shane should be off the team. Margaret was going to block you.
Margaret.
That? Did you see her post?
No.
Yeah, she said anyone talking crap about Shane is getting the block.
Kefalova?
Yeah.
Don't block me, Margaret.
Yeah.
Look, I'm telling you, he's an amazing player. Probably the best ever. But in this format, I don't know.
So who would be your 5 then, out of curiosity?
I mean, picking right now is tough to say, but I'd love to see
okay, that's part of the fun of it. Yeah.
I'd love to see Bergman back playing again. And if he was, I'd plop him in.
Okay.
I'd definitely have Sky in there.
Okay.
I definitely have Tyler, Oscar, Billy Thorpe.
Damn, so not only are you kicking Shane off the team, you're kicking Federer off the team too, huh? God damn, Joe, you're off.
I forgot about him.
Joey just went dead off in the last 10 minutes of the show.
You put me under too much pressure. It's not easy for me to make these tough takes.
Damn, man.
All right, Federer's back on.
He went straight.
I would never leave Federer off.
not only did he say I'm kicking Shane off the team, but
Hey,
now
let me
you're
tell you something.
kicking Federer
I
off the
would
team too.
I would keep.
God
Listen,
damn,
Federer
Joe,
would be
you're
on the
brutal,
team. Hold
man.
on, Federer would be on the team, but one thing that I kind of see, there's a little bit of that same thing I was saying about Shane potentially with Federer, right? And I think it's a very tough thing for these great players, these players that are used to being out there by themselves and doing great things, to be in that team environment. And so that's why it's so special what Europe's pulled off. To have Josh Filler, to have Jason Shaw, to have these Albin Ocean, where they basically, it's not about their ego, it's not about individuals, it's about a team. It's really good. It's really good to watch.
Well, they also know who's not just the alpha in that stage, but who's the alpha in performances as well. They like, even though Albin's probably the most decorated outside of Fran amongst that group of player, he's rightfully considered like a 4 or 5 on that team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And
Crazy,
yeah,
isn't
it is. No, it really is. And so that's part of how they feel that balance and their own dynamic amongst themselves. And all of them play for each other, even though they're playing against one another all year long. Plus, if you see those guys, like, throughout the year, they're usually always chatting it up. The Austrians, the Jason in the mix. Man,
Mike,
you got the crowd on fire, son, here in the chat. I'm just reading through all these.
I was gonna say, we gotta end this thing before I get in more trouble. This is terrible.
Look, if I'll tell you one thing, if Bergman is like available, he brings a real interesting dynamic because it's trust with a lot of the players. He does play team events pretty well, at least in years past.
Mm-hmm.
Federer trusts him. Sky definitely trusts him.
All right,
and
Federer, Sky, Bergman.
No. You can't backtrack now. You already done kicked off Captain America and Captain America number 2. You kicked Captain America 1 and 2 are kicked off the same. Federer's Mosconi Cup legacy ended in 1 year.
It's getting late. I gotta get out of here. I can't believe you baited me into that. I can't believe it.
Look, make sure
hey,
and check
guys,
out.
Hey, I said a lot of dumb things on this show before, and you guys in the comments, man, it's just been fun reading this tonight. You're blowing me up, and I love it.
Look, tomorrow I'm gonna try to get Laley on. We'll see how that goes. I'm gonna reach out to Matchroom and see if we can get at least maybe Sky on. Sky's always great, so I'd love to try to get him on if we can as well. We'll definitely do a pregame once the lineups are announced. That's for sure. I want to try to get the interview done before we do the pregame, because today was a little funky. It's like we had Johan, and then I get a message, hey, Fran's available, but you only got 10 minutes with them. And I'm like, okay, bring him on in. Yeah. So anyhow, make sure and keep your notifications on. Big shout out to our sponsor up above, Fort Worth Billiards, Albert Trujillo. Make sure and go visit billiardsuperstore.com for all your supply needs. Also, my boy Franco down there at the bottom. And do not forget, Joey in this episode said Shane is off the team and Federer is off the team.
I forgot about
next year. So we'll see you guys next. We'll see you guys. Joey may not make it back on the show again. But we'll see you guys tomorrow.